Hey everyone, and welcome to Ask MandR episode 228, the series where I answer your questions. If you have a question you want to answer in next week's episode, leave it down in the comment section below. Like if you enjoy. And let's get right into it with our first question from Aiden, who says, do you think LEGO would ever make Skywalker Saga minifig packs? Because I think they have a lot to work with. Look, this is a great idea. Do I think they'll ever do it? Probably not. But getting a pack of like Mimi type minifigures would be amazing, especially with the minifigure packs that they introduced earlier this year, where you could have a trio of characters like I Heart Vader Kylo Ren, a rebel friend, or even a shirtless stormtrooper. It'd be even crazier if I made those customs myself, wouldn't it? Whew, what a setup. And it'd be even crazier for me to say all this and not have the website ready to sell them. And that is exactly how it is. They aren't available for sale yet. They will be in the future. But, dude, like, this would be a great thing for LEGO to make, too, because obviously it'd be cheaper than customs at a $15 price tag. You just can't compete with that if you're making customs. That would be a great set for everyone. Like, you could get a little hot tub build. Obviously, not all the characters are from the same era, but I don't think that matters in a set like this. It's about the memes, and that's what matters. So, I love the idea. I hope to see something like that, but they've never really done anything like that, I feel like. So I wouldn't expect it, but it's a really neat idea. It really hit a lot of people where it hurts last week when I uploaded the video about the AT-TE not being perfect, and everyone lost their mind.
You say peacock, and no one bats an eye. But you say poopcock, and everyone loses their minds.
Brody Smith says, why are you so upset that the regular 212th troopers have the accessory holes in their helmets as well? I've never heard you mention that as a complaint about normal Phase 1 troopers, and that's the exact same circumstance. Personally, I like having the holes in the helmets as it adds extra chances for customizations. Why wouldn't you want to be able to add a visor to a trooper? So, you are correct. It does add more possibility for customization. That is like a fair point and a fair reason to like them. I brought that up in my own video. I was like, yeah, some people are going to like it for this, of course. I personally, and I know people will call me names for even saying this opinion, because that's what happened last week, think that the holes in the helmet look bad when they are not filled in. And you're going to say, I know, because you brought it up, and many people in the comments will say it, even though I'll counterpoint it right now, you know, the Mandalorian helmets have holes. The Phase 1 troopers from 2008 have holes, so why does it matter now? Well, because the holes on these helmets aren't in, like, the normal spot for holes. The thing is, LEGO designed this trooper helmet all the way back in 2000 and, I guess it's not going to focus, so I'll just put a picture on screen, like we usually do. All the way back in 2012-ish, and of course it released in 2013, and they designed it without the idea that there would ever be an accessory attachment to any of these Phase 2 helmets. I don't understand that, because the first figure that came out with this helmet was the Phase 2 Captain Rex that needed an accessory, or could have used one certainly, because he usually has the rangefinder there. And as you can see on this version of Rex, the rangefinder attaches right at the top of like that little bump. You can tell where that is supposed to attach. And so LEGO now, 10 years later, when trying to figure out how to do Phase 2 Cody, they could have gone and done a specific Phase 2 Cody dual mold that like really looks like Phase 2 Cody, right? But instead, they decided to add holes considerably above where they should be and intruding on the existing design, because they kept the design of the Phase 2 helmet otherwise exactly the same. They just added the hole like a centimeter above or millimeter above, whatever, where it's supposed to be. Does it really matter? I guess not. But do I care as a LEGO Star Wars fan and someone who likes things to be generally accurate? Yes. So, yes, I do think the helmet holes look weird when not filled in, and that is going to be the case for all of my Phase 2 Clone Trooper 212 troops that aren't Phase 2 Cody, because I'm not going to put accessories in the holes of all the random troopers. They don't have accessories in the scene in Episode 3. That's just the way it is. That's the way that I'm going to display it, and therefore, for my personal use, I don't like it. That being said, if the helmet had been redesigned or the holes were in the proper spot, like essentially like not above where they're supposed to be, I wouldn't have a problem with it. That's why there is no problem at all with the Mandalorian / Boba Fett helmet or the Phase 1 Clone Trooper helmet from 2008 that they're still using, of course, for like the Phase 1 Episode 2 clones to this day. Like, yeah, there's no problem because the holes aren't just randomly jacked in where they aren't supposed to be. I hope people can understand that and not call me names for daring to have an opinion on something like that. Like, it's not crazy to be like, yeah, this is inaccurate. I don't like it because it's inaccurate. Jonah says, do you think it makes more sense for LEGO to get rid of the 2 battle droids they add in clone sets in favor of an extra clone trooper? I'd much rather get clones in clone sets and droids in droid sets. I agree with this. This is something I've been preaching for a while, and I think we've kind of seen this change because of that, with the Republic fighter tank getting more clones than droids in a clone set. It's crazy that you can say that, and that's not like a guarantee. The AT-TE getting more clones than droids in a clone set, it's crazy again. That has not always been the case. And so I don't think we'll ever get to a point where they are only including clone troopers in clone sets forever, because LEGO within these sets wants to have like a conflict. And so the battle droids can create that. They are also very cheap to produce, I am sure. They are much cheaper to produce than minifigs. LEGO has made so many of them. They're at such mass quantities that those battle droids have to cost them a penny to make or something. It's got to be ridiculously cheap. I feel like it would be better if they added in a vehicle for the battle droids, and that vehicle quite obviously would be a STAP. That would be the smallest, cheapest vehicle for them to include, and I think that would have added a lot to sets like the 501st Battle Pack and the Republic fighter tank. If you're gonna have the battle droids that are gonna take on this huge clone thing, give them something to actually have a fighting chance. STAPs are that thing that allow you to put in something very small, very cheap to add, yet in my opinion, adds a lot of value. And we haven't seen a STAP in what feels like quite a while now, maybe since 2014-15 or something. So something that I would like to see make its way back into some of these sets, but unfortunately it's been missing in the 2 sets that I think would have benefited the most from it, in the first set and the Republic fighter tank. Charlie says, hey Ryan, what are your thoughts on misprints selling for so much, especially those of clone troopers? I saw 187th Trooper on eBay with a pretty major misprint going for $350. So if someone is willing to buy it and someone is selling it, it sells for that much, that's what it's worth. I don't necessarily think anything of it. It's kind of cool that something that I like can be that valuable, I suppose, and that, when you buy a set and if you get a misprint, you could potentially sell it for hundreds of dollars, thus recouping your cost and then quite a bit more on that set. I think that's a pretty cool thing. I do think to a degree some people take it too far. And I don't necessarily see anything wrong with asking whatever price you want for something. People will see something on eBay and be like, oh, someone's asking $500 for this. Yeah, no one's going to buy it. Who cares, right? But if it's a slight misprint, it'll be a very slight misprint. I'll give you a good example. I just got one. So on screen now, on the left, you can see my regular 187th Trooper, and on the right, you can see my slightly misprinted 187th Trooper. It is not a major misprint, but it is certainly a misprint. It's shifted to the right. The purple stripe is falling off the fin or whatever top ridge of the helmet, and that's obviously a misprint. It's not a major one. It's not a crazy looking one where it's halfway off the helmet and it looks really cool. Those are the coolest ones to collect to me, right? But it is still a misprint. And this is the type of thing that I think people will go on eBay sometimes and they will ask hundreds of dollars for this, when it quite frankly is maybe worth 50, to someone. So I see someone will go on and they'll ask a ton of money for very slight misprints, and that kind of irks me every once in a while. I'm like, why do you think this is so valuable? It is clearly not in the realm of the misprint that actually sold for $300 or whatever it is, right? So yeah, I think the misprints are very cool. I think they're a really awesome thing to collect. I've got a pretty good collection of them going. At some point I'd love to do a video showing all of them off. They're all in different places right now, so I really got to get them all together. But it's an interesting sub-market of LEGO Star Wars, and I really enjoy it as a collector myself. Stop Motion Man says, do you think LEGO might ever do an action battle pack set like they did for Hoth and Endor, but with clones? The action battle line is dead. It was dead on arrival. For as much as people say LEGO is for kids, the kids really didn't eat up the sets that were made for kids. Isn't that crazy? All those play features, and they just didn't buy them, and they didn't make more because they didn't buy them. Those sets warmed shelves and were on clearance and sale for a long time. I thought they were a cool concept for sets. As a collector, I would still prefer to get things that are of ships and things that are accurate, but I didn't have a problem with having something cool like that. It seemed unique. I think I would have liked it when I was 7, right? But ultimately they flopped, and I would not expect to see anything else ever from that concept of a set for LEGO Star Wars. DX had a good point. I tried to ask what sets could have more than 8 clones in a set last week, and DX says if they ever make a Kamino set that would have more than 8 clones, just at various life stages potentially, and with the new mold for Kaminoans, does that not seem so unlikely anymore? Also, question for next episode, not exclusively connected to LEGO, but what are your most regrettable missed opportunities in life? Wow, we just did a whole 180s. Most regrettable missed opportunities in life. I always think back to one, but then again, I always look at it as maybe a positive thing because of the amount of time I might have put into it. High school basketball. I've never played on an organized basketball team. I've played a ton of pickup in my life, and that's kind of the extent of my basketball skill or and that's kind of the extent of my basketball experience. I kind of wish I had played on the high school basketball team, though. Like, I went to do the tryouts one day, and I got so nervous, I just I didn't even, like, I was in the locker room, like, changing after school to, like, go do it, and I was, like, so in my own head, and, like, I think I've grown a lot from that point in, like, I think I was in 10th grade. Just being more mentally tough and, like, confident in myself, almost to a fault, in some people's opinion, I suppose, but, like, there was a time where I was really nervous about, like, things like that. And like now I'd show up to the tryout. Maybe I wouldn't make the team. I don't know. But I definitely show up to the tryout and try my best and see what I can do, right? Like that just, you know, in 10th grade, that was just a different time for me, I guess. And I just wasn't as confident in that ability. And like, yeah. So that's probably one I regret just because I wish I could have been on a basketball team like that. Like that sounds cool to me. Not that I guess I probably would have played much and it probably would have been a lot of time out of my days in high school, which I mostly spent playing Call of Duty after school or, you know, making YouTube videos, which obviously is built into this awesome thing. And then as far as the Call of Duty thing, I haven't played in a month now, but like got very good at that too. Not a huge regret there, I guess, at the end of the day, because I look at like the positive sides of what came out of the time that I ended up having otherwise. But yeah, I do kind of wish I'd been able to make a team. Cap will bring us right back in the ATT discussion. Says, do you think with the new helmet being included in the ATT for all clones, not just Commander Cody, that the previous Phase 2 helmet is vaulted, or we will see it used again? So my point to like why the two 12th Troopers could have used the regular helmet is they are going to be producing the regular helmet without the holes for like 2 years because they just released two sets or a set with the regular Phase 2 helmet in the 187th Troopers with the Republic fighter tank. And, you know, so that came out like 2 months ago. And that, of course, is going to be out for at least a year, year and a half, whatever. Something that I think has also kind of gone under the radar. If you look right across the street in the Summer Wave, you have the Cad Bane's Justifier, which has Hunter. And Hunter uses a regular Phase 2 helmet. And it also does not have holes in the side, and that set is coming out the same time as AT-TE and will be in production about the same amount of time as AT-TE with the same mold. So it's not like the mold of the old Phase 2 helmet is going away. They just decided for whatever reason to include the holes with all of the troops, even the ones that don't use them. Interesting one here from Vigard says, will the old style Mando be more rare than the newer Beskar armor version? It exists in more of the new and cheaper sets. I have so many of him, it is annoying, almost about to throw them in the garbage. I actually prefer the old style Season 1 version. The helmet is more accurate in my opinion than the dark gray. So will it be more rare? It is just objectively more rare. It's in less sets. They've produced less of them. Like the Season 1 Mando without Beskar armor is the rare version of the Mandalorian of the two versions. And so yeah, will it be more expensive? It's hard to say, I guess, because like, you know, the value of things is kind of based on supply and demand. And while the supply might be less, the demand may also be significantly less for that figure because it's just a less good looking figure, if that makes sense. Like the newer Beskar Mando has all the arm printing and looks super fancy. And I remember when the Beskar Mando first came out and it was like, oh my God, this figure's amazing. And now of course it's been in like 5 or 6 sets and it's not as cool to me. And so I think part of the desire for a figure like that kind of goes away for some people when it's in so many sets. And that's like just normal, I guess. Like if Phase 2 Rex had been in 5 sets in the last 10 years, he would be nowhere near as coveted as he is now. He's like a $200 minifigure. But if he was in 5 sets in the last 10 years, he'd probably be like a $25 minifigure. It's just the way it is. So Connor wants to know which set I like more, the AT-AT or the AT-TE. The AT-AT, I think it's an easily more accurate set, and obviously a lot of my audience leans Clone Wars with stuff like this, but I think it's a better set. Like, that set's like a 9.5, 9.75 out of 10, and the AT-TE, in my mind, at best is like a 9 out of 10 because of the flaws that I listed in last week's video. Things like having a spider droid instead of a crab droid matter to me. Like, people say it doesn't matter. Well, then why don't they put a crab droid in a random Kashyyyk set if it doesn't matter? You know what I mean? So, yeah, there's just some issues with the ATT in my mind that make it worse than the AT-AT. And so I like the AT-AT better. It's also a set that when it came out and I made my review of it, I was like, or maybe it was in the comparison. Either way, I was like, this is literally the best AT-AT ever. And then they made a better one with the UCS one, so that's a whole other thing too. Just kind of building off that, if they did a UCS AT-TE in the future, which would be freaking amazing and sick to go with the UCS Republic gunship, I still don't think it would surpass that AT-AT. It's just so fantastic and perfectly accurate in every way. Like, LEGO doesn't do that with the prequel sets sometimes. So, yeah, the AT-AT is better than the AT-TE in my mind, but not by like a ton. It's just better. You just ask which is better, it's better. Or I like it more. Whatever way you want to look at it. Mr. Hampson says, what scale will the Razor Crest be if it should be one? Minifig scale or upscaled? Well, it will have a scale. technically. I guess not, like, I don't think of a lot of sets in that way, like of what's minifig scale and what's not, but a UCS Razor Crest will absolutely be in minifig or very close to perfect minifig scale. Like, obviously, people bring up the counterpoint of, oh, minifigures aren't, like, perfectly proportional to humans. Yes, thank you. Everyone knows. However, like, just in relation to their height and just the general, like, closeness to it, you can get very close to a 1-to-1 scale, essentially, and that's essentially where I see the Razor Crest ending up at $530, if that's the UCS set, but I think at this point it's been pretty well hinted and rumored, and it's probably what's coming, so, yeah. I don't think it would be a big upscaled set like the UCS gunship. It's just the way the sizings work in my mind. It just will end up being something that fits minifigures very nicely and probably comes with like 6 or 7 minifigs too. It'll probably have like Kuil, who we haven't had yet, and the Blurg or whatever, and then maybe we'll get the Mando, like a special Mando with like the mud all over him or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to think outside the box, like what minifigs could come in a UCS Razor Crest, because I think there's some... Oh, the blue guy! Better get the blue guy. Yes, I can't remember his name, but yeah, I think it'll be minifig scale, and now that I've thought about it more, it'll probably include more than just Mando and Grogu, which would be amazing. Brandon O'Hare says, what are your thoughts about all the Scalpers going on? I haven't seen a Republic fighter tank since it's been released. Please stop blaming Scalpers. I promise, by far the majority of people buying the sets that you are looking for are fans just like you. How do I know this? Because I get all the comments about, where are all these sets? Or, hey, I just got this set. Like, I see both sides of it, right? Now, building off of that, LEGO massively underproduced this set. Target, I just found it on shelves at my Target for the first time since it came. It didn't show up on Target shelves the day it came out. It took 2 months for that set to start showing up on Target shelves, and now I've been getting comments and DMs about people finding it over the last week in their Targets now, finally. Again, 2 months! No one found it on a Target shelf for 2 months until now. So that's a LEGO problem. Like, you gotta go to LEGO and be like, hey, you didn't make enough of these. What gives? Why not? Where are they? Like, why didn't you send them to all the Targets, you know? Or maybe that's a Target problem, I don't know. But I do know they are currently in stock on Target.com as well, so definitely pick them up there if that's what you're looking for. But it's just a popular set, and it's going to be the same deal with the AT-TE. Matthew says, how often do you dust your LEGO sets? Not very. Not very often at all. The ones behind me I've basically relegated as dusty display sets. That's kind of the term I've been using. Everything else that isn't back there is kept in like storage containers and under like blankets or towels to keep them dust free, so I don't have to dust them. But they'll be at some point put in like clean glass display cases, perfectly, you know, for display in the future when I buy a house, you know, all that stuff. But at this point, all that stuff back there gets pretty dusty, and I'll maybe dust it every 4 months, maybe 3 times a year is probably a good number there. And yeah, so a lot of people will be like, how do you keep your set so clean? The answer is I don't. You just can't see the dust from this far away with the blur. Like, it's pretty dusty back there. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you have a question for next week, ask it. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you guys in the next one in Georgia. Peace out.